This isn't how I would normally eat, but given the circumstances, I went ahead and had a 42-gram Fairlife, so a core power. If you're not familiar with those are these guys right here. Strawberry is my favorite. They also come in 26-gram. They're phenomenal, and realistically, they are available at most gas stations as well as Safeways, Kroger's, HEBs. They're one that you can find across the country. Like I was a little skeptical. I was like, I wonder if this is just like a California thing, but it's something now having gone to Texas, having gone to the East Coast, even having gone now to Pennsylvania and like really like the woods in Pennsylvania, most gas stations will have this. And if they don't, that's okay. They can be found at Costco, the 30-gram bottles that they have. But alternatively, if you can't get these or you don't want to order them in advance, if I was just going off of like, hey, I don't have any on hand, which I'm always going to typically Instacart or make sure that I at least have this stocked up going into a day of travel, you can always look for alternatives like Pillar. Pillar is a Greek yogurt drink. Those can be found at Whole Foods, also Safeways. Past that, there's another drink. This one is very specific to Whole Foods. It's called Slate. But realistically, there are several options as far as protein substitution, ready to drink shakes that you can get. And I'm building all this up because basically I'm trying to say the day of travel, my focus is going to be protein. For this kind of flight, we're going to be in the air almost 6 hours from there. It's a 2-hour drive from us once we land to his parents' house. So realistically, we're leaving 6:30, not getting into town and getting set up until 10 p.m. EST. So we're going to be gone most of the day and we're going to be really limited on food intake. Now, I usually don't have my first meal until about 8 or 9, and people always ask, like, "Okay, when I'm changing time zones or when I'm on the road, how should I adjust, nutrient timing? Should I get it in earlier, especially if I'm gonna be limited, if I'm gonna be in the air and not really have access to a lot of good choices? Should I bring it with me?" And you can absolutely bring food with you on planes. Personally, that's just not my preference. I don't like eating around people. It's not something that I necessarily push clients to do either. If you're not comfortable with it, you don't have to. And even on this trip itself, I had 6 calls, and one of them, the girl was in Fort Lauderdale for about a week, and it was soon after we started coaching together, like, it was, like, our 3rd week, and she's like, "Yeah, like, it was so overwhelming because like, I had prepped chicken, but I felt, like, gridlocked because I wasn't comfortable. I was in the middle seat. I felt like there was gonna be some chicken odor to it." And I told her, I was like, "Look, straight up, like, if you're not gonna enjoy the food and you feel like you can wait until you land or even like in the future you want to have it before you get on the plane, even if you're condensing that nutrient timing window, I'm okay with that." Like, I do think there's some power in actually kind of owning like eating when you're comfortable and when you want to. Like, you don't have to make it a huge thing or force yourself into this box that doesn't really feel good. And really, like, I'm explaining this in a very like unorganized way. Really what it came down to for me is like, okay, I'm not gonna eat on the plane because like the food options are gonna kind of suck. Once we get into town, we're probably not gonna stop because once we get to his parents' house, we're also gonna have dinner. And even though it's gonna be late, it's still gonna be closer to that 7 p.m. or dinner time that, PST that we would normally eat. So realistically, it doesn't make sense to have a ton of food prior to actually getting on the road. And realistically, we need to get on the road quickly. So that leaves me with very limited time periods to get in food this day. So knowing all this, thinking about it the day in advance, I'm like, cool. Before we leave the house, I'm gonna have one of these guys. That immediately gets me almost to a third of my protein target for the day. For those of you who don't know, I like to hit 150 grams of protein per day at body weight 135 pounds. Um, if, like, if you're a little bit on the lower side of that, that's okay. But like, still making sure that even on days that whether you're overeating or undereating, I found that something that is like very habit based, I don't know, a habit based action. If you can just be cognizant of the amount of protein you're eating, this in itself is going to make you more aware about around your food decisions. So even if you're not tracking everything to a T, it's still something that I would kind of go out of your way to be like, okay, even if fats are super high today or carbs are completely all over the place or I don't know what I'm going to land at, just being mindful of, okay, no matter what, I'm going to hit my protein. That sets you up for success. So both of us, we had our 42 grams. Jordan gets in 200 grams of protein per day, which is a little, like just a hair above body weight. And realistically, for him, he is always having to source and forage for protein. So before we left, he had a Fairlife and a Slate, so 60 grams. We get to the airport. Also on the way, we made sure, like, I drink a liter of water in addition to one of these. So liter and a half I'm in by the time my feet hit SFO. We go through security, get to our gate, get some coffee. Uh, I know not all airports have the same accessibility, and some of the options are just really overpriced and really suck. Again, I kind of debated back and forth. I'm like, okay, if we go to the lounge, we could potentially get some food in, but I forget why. I think it was like in a different terminal entirely, and we didn't have enough time to go there and be back at our gate with a reasonable amount of time. So we ended up just heading to our gate, looked at what was around, and for us, like, we had access to, it was like a Mexican, I don't know, Mexican California fusion thing, and they did a breakfast burrito and a breakfast bowl. So for me, like, I didn't necessarily go in with like, oh, this needs to be under 500 or 600 calories. I went in thinking, okay, I want to get in another 40 grams of protein minimum. Jordan, he again, like, he needs to be cognizant of more than just protein because his BMR, like, he will lose if he doesn't eat 3,000, 3,500. Like, he gets lean so quickly off such high food. So he ended up opting for a very big breakfast burrito. The bowl I had was quite large, but in it came chicken, probably about 3 ounces. I ordered extra to make it six, and then two whole eggs. So that in itself, I'm like, okay, this meets my protein requirement. And we kind of debated back and forth. I was like, I'm not really hungry because it is so early. Should we just wait and eat on the plane? And he's like, honestly, no, like, it's gonna be so long. And even then, they're not gonna be good choices. So let's just have something now. And even if you don't eat all of it, it's still like a good degree of intake to at least get us started. And we kind of pivot from there as needed. So for me, like, the potatoes were under, the black beans were not very good. So, I mean, like, I just kind of ate what I could from the bowl, not really paying hard attention to like how many carbs there were because frankly, I just didn't eat that many. Alternatively, past something like this, if you wanted to look at like even salads, or I mean, like, oh shit, like in FSFO, they had poke, which, ugh, poke for breakfast. Don't know if I'd recommend that from the airport. Um, but there are some airports that do carry Fairlife. They carry Greek yogurt, like even like good brands like Chobani or Fage. Even if you want to look at like protein bars, there are many airports that have protein bars in those actual like Hudson News like centers. Now, you can also bring food with you, and that's something I've done in the past, like, especially getting ready for shows. I've brought my protein with me, and this is a super cost-effective way to do this. And I think it's a good idea too, even if you're like myself or my client and you don't want to eat on the plane, just bring it through security, have it in a glass Tupperware, just make sure like afterwards you go and clean it. But you could do a very simple meal and honestly save yourself some money here. But realistically, there are options, and it does take planning. It does take being mindful about like how you intend to get protein in. And this was something I kind of, I don't know, developed this system when Jordan and I went to Tahoe last year. We went with a big group of friends, and we kind of went in thinking like, we're not going to drink, but we are going to float the river. We're going to indulge. But like realistically for him, he needed to get in 4,500 a day to not lose. He was in the middle of a build, and that was the amount that if he was just shy of that, he was starting to see scale weight go down. So I mapped out like as we drove to, I was like, okay, so if we break this down per hour, you need to have this amount of protein at these different points throughout the day for you to be guaranteed that you don't have to go to bed and eat 100 grams right as you're getting into bed. And I think that's typically the method in which I would tell people, like, if you just look at your budget almost like a lump sum and then just segment it out, like, okay, realistically, can you break this up over a certain number of meals? Or do you want to just hang on to it, try to hit your protein so that by the end of the day, once protein's complete, you just have fats, carbs, maybe just a little bit of protein to hit? That method has always worked really well for me, especially when travel becomes unpredictable.